Right. This is a story of that one time I killed someone's dog. This is not me, by the way. This is somebody else. But this is a true story, unfortunately. It says, it was 1998. I was 8 years old, when one day my mum had arrived home from the grocery store. As I get outside, I can hear my mum screaming. I rush towards her when I see her with a full arm of groceries kicking at some small little tiny dog, which is like a small chihuahua. The dog was quite vicious. Chihuahuas are small, but they are quite vicious. They said, I ran over and to scare the dog away as she runs back inside. The dog had bit and gnawed her ankle up. My mum was bleeding. As my dad was tending to my mother's ankle, he said, I'm going to kill that damn dog. Turns out this was our next door neighbour's dog. And we and other neighbours in the community had problems with this little monster. The dog's name was Daisy. After helping my mum, my dad walked over to our neighbour to tell them what happened. The neighbour basically spat back that her dog has been home the entire day. And it simply wasn't possible. Daisy couldn't have done this, she said. Impossible. She lied. My dad called the police, but there wasn't much of anything they would or could do. It was messed up. I was always a malicious child, or a mischievous child. I was constantly getting into trouble while growing up. I was a child who was kind at heart, but had loved to cause trouble. I had a constant ideas, and when I had a light bulb moment, I would obsess over the idea until it was completed. Before I get too far into the story, I need to explain what my parents did for a living. It's important, mainly my mum. My mum was a party wedding planner. Our basement was always filled with helium tanks and all kinds of equipment. Basically, a party city in my basement. It was always a cool place, sorry. Even though I wasn't ever allowed down there. It was a Saturday night and my mum and dad were gone for the weekend. This was incredibly rare. I couldn't wait to take advantage of this opportunity with limited play time for 007 GoldenEye on Nintendo 64. That takes me fucking back. And I've also finished the fucking video. It's longer than 2 minutes.
It doesn't, you can't still keep recording?
Yeah, I will keep recording.
Right.
Don't you worry. It says, it was going to be the best weekend ever. But things were about to quickly change. I find myself looking out my window into the neighbour's lawn when my eyes met Daisy, the monster. I began thinking about how much I hated that dog.
This is the one we read.
That is when it happened. A little light bulb hit me. I had the craziest idea. An idea now I had to hold on to. I immediately went to work. I shut off 007 GoldenEye and headed to the basement. This is really intense, isn't it? I don't know what idea was this. Okay.
To send the dog.
Oh shit! I don't remember reading this.
No.
Okay. So she headed to the basement. Or he. I made my way over to the helium tanks and began filling my balloon after balloon. I put about 15 to 20 feet of balloon lining on each balloon and tied them together at the bottom. I even tied more balloons halfway up and the original lines, creating what looked like layers of balloons, and tied them all together. Kind of like up, isn't it? Okay, now. And spent hours filling it and tying the balloons. By the time I was done, I had filled the basement with hundreds of balloons. I never counted, but it was like a lot. After I was done, I was careful not to pop any balloons. As I pulled all of the balloons through the sliding glass door into our backyard, by this time it was starting to get dark. I feel the balloons lift as my arm left as my arm felt like it was being pulled upwards. I took a rock bigger than my head and placed it into the knot tying all the balloons together. This kept it grounded. I then went over to our fence and called Daisy over. She was barking a lot and wouldn't come. I started giving her treats we had for our dog. It worked. She was warming up to me now. She was even letting me touch her. I reached over the fence and pulled Daisy into my backyard. I kept feeding her treats, which helped keep her quiet and busy. I wasted no time. I took about 2 feet of the nylon kite string and tied it to the knot of the balloons. The other end was tied to the Chihuahua's body harness. Okay, I feel like I need to pause this. This is like...
Mm-hmm.
So what went on in this light bulb moment? Like, did it just say, "Oh, I want to make this dog go away"? Did this person intentionally kill this dog, or was it more of like, can he just go
away
elsewhere?
Yeah, I know.
Elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but let's just carry on. It says, when I moved the back of the rock of the balloon knot, wow. The balloons shot Daisy up into the air with ease. It was unbelievable. I obviously used way too many balloons. I watched until Daisy was a very small and was... What? I watched until Daisy was very small and the barking was barely heard. Then I couldn't hear Daisy at all. The barking was gone. Daisy was gone. The gravity of what I had done just started to set in. I felt really bad. I had become a monster just like Daisy. I remember thinking, I cried so much. I didn't want Daisy to die. I never really thought that far ahead. Okay, that makes sense. But why? I never thought of the repercussions. It was an impulsive act as a child that I would never reverse. Could never reverse. Fast forward to Sunday night and my father gets home. He immediately notices that something is wrong with me. Me and my dad are very close and I could talk to him about anything. I finally told him what happened. He laughs and thinks I'm joking at first. I tell him I'm serious over and over. He becomes slightly annoyed and tells me to be quiet. Then this was that very night. There is a knock at the door. I can hear my dad answer the door from my bedroom. It's the neighbour. Oh no. Does she know it was me? I panicked. But I kept listening. She was crying. She basically asked my dad if he had seen Daisy because she's been missing since Saturday night. I hear him pause for a moment. Then he says, no, I haven't seen Daisy. He explains he just arrived home from the business only an hour ago. I'm assuming it's a business trip. She then asked if maybe I had seen him. My dad calls me over to the front door. I'm so scared. I can feel my face getting hot. My dad is standing holding the door open with a look of sheer horror on his face. She asks us again if I'd seen Daisy. I quickly tell her no. I tell her I've been inside all weekend. She cries as she leaves and thanks us for our time. When Dad closes the door, he looks at me with his eyes wide open. He tells me he can't believe what I did. He's in shock. Then he told me everything I never forget, something I would never forget. He tells me never tell anyone about this. Not your mother, not anyone else, not ever. This is a secret between us, he said. I never did tell anyone. Daisy was never found. I still wonder what happened to Daisy to this very day. I'm so sorry, Daisy. The end.